G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is an ion cannon, not to be confused with a Spartan laser. Obviously, this weapon is heavily inspired from the Halo franchise's Spartan lasers. The design here is pretty much the same. There's a few differences here, but what they've done is they've made it work with the missile launcher vanilla animations, and obviously things need to be shifted around a little bit for that. At least the paint job seems to be on point. That looks like it would fit in well and match Master Chef's armor pretty well there. So this thing fires the I cores, which means this thing can be reloaded, unlike the Spartan lasers you'll find when playing as the Master Chef, and that means we'll be able to get a lot of damage on our enemies and not have to worry about putting the weapon down or carrying 6 of these on me, although we're going to be doing that anyway, and you'll see why in just a sec. So right now we've got the ion cannon just with the contracted lens, which gives us 181 fire damage, which is a leftover Skyrim flame damage, which means under normal circumstances that's just free damage because enemies aren't programmed to resist that kind of punishment because it's not in the game by default. You can have an amplified version which takes all the previous types of damage but adds an extra ballistic compartment, which is basically just an explosion. So if you want to have an explosive Spartan laser, then you can have it right there. You can have a cryolation, which eliminates the explosion, but it will give you the Skyrim thrust damage. Doesn't do damage to your stamina AP bar, unfortunately. Unless it does, which would be kind of neat, but I'm sure it doesn't. But you can use this to freeze targets if they are capable of being frozen. If they're capable of living past one of these strikes with a critical, then you probably want to freeze them, right? The fusion radiator is basically a hit scan Fat Man. I don't need to explain myself on that a little bit more, but that's pretty gnarly. The sonic pulse emitter is deceptively underpowered when it comes to the weapon card here, but this is like, you know those sonic cannons that the Geonosians use in Attack of the Clones, and we're drawing from multiple franchises here, I know, but the one that knocks like the Jedi through the giant pole that they use to tie Obi-Wan to get killed by the spider monster. It's kind of like that. It does a whole lot of damage, a lot more than what you see here. Tesla capacitor through preliminary testing is kind of lame because it fires just the standard round that you'd get out of a Tesla rifle, which means you get no penetration from cover. And if it decides to bounce off and hit something else, it's not really that impressive. You'll never hit anything more than 2 targets, which I guess makes it better than the standard lens, but I don't rate it, to be honest. Plus, it has a limited range with the electricity not being able to reach out that far. And the dilated lens is actually kind of fun. Think of it as like a shoulder-mounted Gatling laser. This will require an Assaultron circuit board, which I haven't grabbed, but I've prepared on everything else. And right here, it's worth mentioning that these have some rather esoteric crafting requirements. A lot of these will require makeshift batteries or military-grade circuit boards, and in this case, an Assaultron circuit board. So make sure you have them handy. There might be a little bit of a fetch quest you need to do using this weapon before you can use it to its full potential and all of its different sort of elements, so to speak. So what we'll do is we'll leave this on the contracted lens here. This will just be our standard one, but we'll definitely chuck on all of these other types so we can use them as we kill stuff. Next up, we've got the recon module, and if you enable that, it puts a little TV on the side, and it gives you just a recon scope. Otherwise, you're just using the iron sights on the side, which is only really useful if you don't want to see what you're shooting at, so keep that in mind if you want to choose that. Nothing in the muzzles, and you can paint it. The Institute paint looks really cool, actually. I think Institute paint looks good on everything. Everything looks good with Institute paint. I love it. Raider paint is funny because it says Preston Sucks here. It says Eat It there. It's red. We've got chipped paint, and it says Daddy's Fun Stick there, and the Fuck Off 9000. Obviously, a little bit of a reference there to the Doom's Big Gun 90,000, or BFG, so that's interesting. And Shadow just makes it black, which you can't go wrong with. And Standard is there to match Master Chef's armor if you want to use Master Chef's armor in the game. I'm sure there's mods for that. And a legendary effect is there if you need it, but we're not. And this might be the only time where I've only done a slight modification on the standard weapon before we move out, but here we are. In order to craft this thing, just go down to Ion Cannon. It's in all caps on your chemistry workbench. You can craft the ion cannons. Keep an eye out for biometric scanners and military-grade circuit boards for this. But other than that, you don't need any requirements in science or gun nut to actually craft this, which is interesting to say the least. And you can also create the iron cores. All you need to do is just turn them into fusion cores, and you get 100 iron cores out of 1 fusion core. And we're not going to be using power armor, so let me just spam this for a little bit. Lovely. Alright, that's enough. Righto, so we're outside of Gunner's Plaza, and this is the Spartan laser, ion cannon in first person. Looks pretty familiar, don't you think? And this is what the recon scope looks like, so it's nothing that we haven't ever seen before. You get the same tagging abilities as we watch a little blood bug get wrecked over there from a distance, but you know, it's a pretty decent scope, and should we find the need to snipe at something, I think we'll be in pretty good hands despite everything. Now, I haven't got anything hotkeyed here, but we do have all of these listed as their ammo types, just so I don't have to check exactly what they are before we start going. And I'm really tempted just to start sniping with this, so to get this out of my system real quick. Yes. One shot hit scan Fat Man Sniper. It's gonna kill pretty much anything you point it at. So that's probably the cheapest way of taking out Gunner's Plaza, because I got a sneak attack critical from all that, which I think is funny. But let's just dial things down a little bit. We'll only pull that one out in emergencies. We'll just use the standard sort of Spartan laser here, which normally would charge up in Halo, but I would assume that that function doesn't work in terms of how Fallout 4 does its animations, because there's some quirks when it comes to using this thing, especially when it's automatic, and we'll get to that in just a second, but I think that's enough for the standard. Let's go a little bit more explosive, because, you know, we've got to pay him back for making the car explode near me, and my oh my, you're already dead. Now that guy's got an MG42, which I'm not actually super worried about today, for my DPS is quite enough to deal with them in just one shot, which I gotta say is a welcome change. I don't mind that. And you'll note that this thing's got perfect hipfire accuracy. Probably a little nod to how Halo works, right? Because I would imagine this thing would be quite accurate in the hands of a Spartan, no doubt. But, you know, if you don't want to aim this thing, if you feel like the scope is a little bit too much, you can always just go back to hip firing. Obviously, my hip fire is bolstered a little bit by steady hands, so that's probably why it is looking as good as it is right now. But looks like some fog's rolling in. Try to bounce some splash damage off that guardrail there. Didn't work out too well. Alright, that's enough of this. Let's move on to the cryo. There we go, there's a hit. And a kill in a few shots there. I'm going to target this gunner's leg, then I'm going to go... Well, that corpse is frozen solid, so I would assume that that means that we've got the freezing legendary effect on this, which adds a little bit of utility, but there's not going to be a whole lot of enemies that are both not immune to being frozen and also, I guess, able to survive a critical from this weapon. But, you know, should you find yourself in need for a clutch freeze here and there, then go right ahead. Alright, next up we've got the Tesla. I want to check the Tesla out because I didn't have a whole lot of fun testing this the other day, but it seems to do the job. And there's that little bit of hipfire action that I was talking about a little bit earlier. This one does have the iron sights just to see what they're like. You'll note from a certain distance, and this is the range limit that I was talking about with the lightning rounds, is that you just simply can't hit them no matter what, so VATS literally won't let you target. Sometimes in Fallout 76 you just target the ground with the lightning and then it'll just bounce to an enemy, which I would say is a viable tactic here, and possibly the utility value of doing that around the corner or something would be pretty good. Anyways, as we come into Nerd Rage here, witness the power of the Dilated One. It's a constant laser beam. Think Spider Walker from Star Wars Battlefront. And with the Scrapper perk, you can Sorry, I think it's with the Scrounger perk. You can get all of your rounds back sometimes, and we just got 100 free cores from that. Only problem is this: there's quirks. If you fire this thing in an automatic fashion in third person, what you'll find is that you'll sort of shoot to the ground. I was going to make a shoulder-mounted flamethrower for a weapon mod once, and now you're not walking the way I want you to. And that's why I didn't, because that's kind of silly. And if you want to tap the trigger, if you're amused by teabagging, then you've come to the right place, I think, with that. So that's all well and good. Which brings me to the last one, Sonic. And unlike the blue hedgehog, this thing, it's not very fast, but it'll hit like a tank, like 10 trucks, like a road train, if you manage to get anywhere near your enemies. Yeah, 3,300 damage. And it goes through walls. So I didn't have to breach and clear that thing this time. That's kind of the gist of it. I'm going to kill Swan real quick, and then we're going to go run the Gauntlet against some super mutant behemoths and stuff. And probably take a step back. There we go. Feeling much better now, I'm sure. Okay, rain whisked away by... That was the nuke. By console commands. I'm going to go shoot Swan for a little bit. There's a fox there. Don't have to worry about him. So I'm going to find Swan in range, and then I'm going to shoot him in VATS. So we're going to add a critical to this. Just to add insult to injury, I think. And by the time I've got this thing reloaded, did I just see like 11,000 combined damage? I think I did. Total whiffer there. Maybe we should just aim center mass. No craziness. I think we just took out some boom bugs there. Knocked him right over. And with a nice slow motion explosion there, the Swan has been taken out again. And that is what they call overkill. Might want to use something else against this bastard. Let's see what I got. Nice. Alright, time to run the Gauntlet, I guess, and I won't kill the boss so cheaply this time. Okay, I might, but maybe with like the Sonic Cannon instead. Okay, so things have kicked off nice and early here, as the gunners have already sort of found Swan, and I'm just firing the Sonic rounds in their general direction. Let's go for the big boy here. Let's see what kind of damage we can do off the bat. And that's a lot of shots we can get in VATS. I think that's because we're just using the standard iron sights. Not quite as impressive, I don't think. However... Ooh, that's a stagger. And I keep hitting him through his legs. So we could probably backpedal this thing a little bit. Yep. We can use quick hands to reload in VATS in the blink of an eye. Watch it. And 5 is ready to go. Not sure whether that's an exploit or whether that's actually meant to be happening, but seeing a big stagger on a dude like this, that's pretty good. And that's a knockdown too. Excellent. And the physics will keep throwing him around, so wow. That's amazing. Let's go back over. Oh, you getting back up? A second wind? Nope, he is not. Let's go back over to Amplified. These Super Mutant Warlords should not be able to stand up to it. I've got 5 of these babies in the magazine, so an unnecessary reload for your viewing pleasure, of course. Alright, now I've got a couple of raiders to deal with. I wonder if I can bounce a fusion shot in the middle of their camp to wipe them all out in one fell swoop. Got one of them at least. And that's the other one. Just one more to go. I'm going to hit the same place. Tough bastard. Alright. Maybe we'll go with a little bit more of a less precise touch. There we go. Nicola is smiling at me right now for that shot there. Let's keep out the Tesla one for now because there's some bears that I want to kill. Or maybe those... Ah, the buzzy bastards are back. I've got a bone to pick with these chumps. Okay, this is a little bit more gnarly than first thought. We might need to... Well, actually, I know how to deal with this nonsense. There we go. Damn it, their superior damage reduction will be my downfall. There we go. Not too tough now, you little bastards. Just ignore these ones. They're not as dangerous, even though I'm very green right now. I'm currently leaking bee venom out of the stings that they're giving me. That's fine though. We build them tough here at Captainoob. She can handle that. All right, that one's dead. Won't be lying when I say those bloody bee swarms will be the death of me. Let's go with the one that won't explode. Cazador's step out of the way. My new nemesis is here. And we'll gain some crits there, I think. Just little ones. And then, there we go. Damage reduction, be gone. Alright. I suppose we'll finish this off with a little bit of amplified sniping. Now, have any of you guys figured out there's a problem? No. I see you're just in render distance there. So, the term balance gets thrown all around a lot lately. And I think we can all say, hand on our hearts, without a doubt in our minds, this is breaching overpowered. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. The fact that you can make these things fire as much as they can, just with fusion cores, which, you know, early game, they're not hard to find. That's a Nightkin. I thought it was behind the door there, but yeah, okay. Might be a bit of fun game breaking you could utilize here. And I think the mechanics and the fact that you have to get the actual junk bits, like the makeshift batteries and the circuit boards, both the Soltron for one and the military grade for the other, I think that's probably justification for its power, because, you know, you gotta go out and find this stuff. He'll go down. And I think there's just one sad sap dog left. Never mind, it's not a dog, it's a centaur. Bring it, I'll get ya. This is taking a lot longer than expected. There we go. Maybe you should have put a bayonet on this thing. And surely a man or a thing with 3 tongues can open a gate like that. Well, I guess Mo couldn't, so there you go. And now there's a boar behemoth. I'll take him out. And I think we'll call it a video there. So that is 2 giant encampments of super mutants and gunners alike slaughtered, and the bosses destroyed like never before. But you know what? I've had fun with this thing. If you're a big Halo fan, that corpse just disappeared. And yeah, if you're a big Halo fan, you like the Spartan lasers and other guns, this is a nice little lightweight mod for you to just mess around with, unless you want a direct port on this thing. But in terms of free use and the creativeness of this weapon, I think this is pretty good. Highly recommend downloading this, even if you aren't a Halo fan. If you like big shoulder-mounted lasers, and who wouldn't, really, I recommend you download this mod. Thank you very much for watching, guys. That's silly.